Hi everyone and welcome to Fitotech. In this video I want to show you this amazing plugin, because I've been using it in the past year when I discovered it, and let me to tell you, it's great and so useful for post-production, not only in animation, but even in any video project. This plugin can be used in Adobe Premiere Pro, After Effects, DaVinci Resolve and much more. The plugin which I'm talking about is from AEJuice, and it's I Want a Bundle Lifetime, and using my link at the description you will get 99% off. This plugin includes 70 packs, with text animation, newspaper constructors, seamless transitions, NFT Creator, creative titles, animation for sales, and many packs for post-production. I'm not going to be able to cover everything in this video, but I'm going to show you the packs that I use more. So I'm Fito, and let's start! Once you click on the link in the description, you will be directed to the settings page and you will be able to purchase this package with a 99% off. Of course, you can also have the option of free plugins. If you click, the page to download the plugins will load automatically. Here we'll find the options to download it for Windows or Mac. When we download the installation and after installing it, we'll run After Effects of Premiere Pro. Then we click on New Project. And to activate the panel, we'll go to the window, and from here, we'll look for the option of AEJuice Pack Manager. When click the panel, we'll load where we'll find all free packages in a tab. That will say free. But if you have purchased that I Want a Bundle Lifetime package, we'll go to the account and login. After that, we'll have the Purchased tab. When we display it, we'll find all the packages. In total, there are 70 packages, each with different presets for different functions. So that you can appreciate, I will do double click on this panel to see on the entire screen. The package that this panel includes, just like any other panel in After Effects, we can move it, click on the title, and then we can move it to any area of After Effects. Next to the preview area for Premiere Pro, I run Adobe Premiere Pro, and then we'll go to any file. Could be a new project or not. Once we are in Premiere Pro, regardless of the version, we'll go to the window within extensions, we'll find the same After Effects package. When click it, we'll load anywhere in the window, and we can also take it to any area of this panel. This works exactly the same as in After Effects. We'll start with the package that AEJuice has for social networks. This is called YouTube Pack. It is inside the Blogger Pack. If we don't have it downloaded, first we'll click on it and it will begin to download automatically. Once downloaded, this panel will open and it will be shared in the panel as an independent window. If we click on the house, we return to the main screen and we can open several at the same time. Any of these we can change it by clicking on the name of the window, or if not next to it, we can close them. Now I'll click on YouTube Pack. In all the panels on the left side, we'll find the categories that this brings. We can also express any of them using the scroll mouse. As we see for this package, we find some animation that are widely used for YouTube channels to invite users to subscribe. Then we find animation to respond to comments. We also find animation for auto screen or firewalls to the video. Below we find different animation which can be used for advertising. Now to make an example, we'll choose some of the recommendation animation. For example, choose this from here. We have to download it with double click. I explained that when they have downloaded this, they will be stored in their folder. But if you have, for example, two storage, if you want to change the destination where these temporary files will be stored, we'll go to the settings panel, then to the little person and we choose settings. From here we find the default storage will appear where they have installed, but we can change it to another location. Once downloaded, a composition is created. To edit the composition, we double-click and depending on the effect we are using, different layers will appear, or subcomposition in the first one. A control layer will always appear. Then we'll go to the Effect Control panel next to the project, and from here we can change and customize the effect. For example, this one is red. I'm going to change it to green. Then with Move, I will also choose a green that is darker. For example, this name channel where the name of the channel appears, I wish to change the color. Then we'll locate it, and from here we can change the color. For example, I will leave it yellow. Now to change all the text, we find some text layers. For example, the first one corresponds to the channel name, so I will edit it. At the bottom we can write a slogan. Layer 3, it would be to put our name on social networks. Then we find this subcomposition. Each one of them will allow us to change the images. In this one, it allowing us that we can change the image that is sliding. So in the project panel, I would double click, or if not with Ctrl I, to import these images. And I will import the image of my character. Then I drag it inside this subcomposition. I press S for the scale, and so I precise it with the panel align. Then I will center them and I will delete the placeholder layer. So we can see how it will be looking. I think the character is too big, so I'm going to resize it a bit of the size seems adequate to me. Then we can also customize the following sublayer. Import it into my logos and then I will place it to replace the placeholder image. To see the size, press the S key and it will fit my logo. As we see in this case, they have already made the effect so that the silhouette of my character appears. Next to it, we can continue customizing these logos. Each of these subcompositions will correspond to this image, so I'm going to customize them. I will also change the color of this box that appears behind my character. So I choose the controls layer and then in Effect Controls I will look for it to change. And so in a very quick way, we already have a very well animation. It already has transparency, so that we can place it above our video. I'll press the space key so that you can see the result. Perhaps you have seen animation of the newspaper in which you can see images with animation of newspaper sheets. Well, this package brings us the newspaper constructor. I will double click. And as we see, we have a great variety of animation type newspaper. Any of them we can preview them. And remember that all the animation that we are going to find in any of the package are fully customizable. So I will choose one to customize. For example, this one. Here I will double click to download. A composition will be created. This composition selected in the project panel. Then, with the Enter key, I will rename it and place it as new paper. Then I will place it inside my folder that I have created of comps that will be for all the compositions. Here we can see how this will be animation. Of course, as you have seen, there are some that are a bit more complex, but they all work in a very similar way. So to edit it, we double click on the composition that has been created. Then, if we select the first control layer and we go to the control panel, we have all the options that we can customize. For example, paper color, that will be for the color of the paper. I will select it and will change it to be a little more yellow. Immediately, the color for the entire newspaper will change. Then we have to change the text color for the letters. That appears in this is a gray color. For example, I will change a gray like this, but towards the yellow tones. Now, as we can see, we have the placeholder layer. Whenever we see placeholder, it indicates that it will be the composition. For replace the image, I will double click and import, or with Ctrl I. We can import an image, video of another composition. In this case, I will choose this GIF that I have from one of my animations. I will drag it. Then I place it and press the S key to escalate it. Then the placeholder layer I delete with the delete key. Then I will double click and insert a background. For this character I place it on the layer below. Then press the S key and I will change its size. Now if we return to the composition that we are working on, we'll see that it already has the texture and all the animation made automatically for this type of animation. As we can see, we already have this animation. In this case, as I used a GIF, so it will be repeating the animation like a loop. If you want to customize it more, we can change the text. We go back to this layer and in text holder. We will double click here. The whole image will be loaded and from here we can change to a text. If we wanted, for example, text 1 corresponds to all the text of the left strip. The next one for the title, the right text, and the bottom text. So, as we can see, we can totally customize this type of animation. Then we have the History Timeline Constructor package. This will allow us to create our documentary type animation, and we double-click to open it, and from here we can see that we have a great variety of animation of this type. For example, I'll choose this one here. I will double-click to import it and create one new comp. Now that it loads in the project panel, I choose comp, I hit enter to rename it, and it renamed it as history timeline. Then insert this comp into the comps folder. I do this to work in an orderly way. Now to start customizing, I do double click on the layer, and as always we will have several layers which will allow us to customize the entire animation. I will start by replacing some images. I place this where I find the layer placeholder. I double click and I will replace this one here with Ctrl I and import some images, for example of my animation of Wednesday. I have my character and also have this background. I delete this plasmator layer with the delete key, then to the background layer I press S. I'm going to escalate to the Wednesday and I'm going to locate to separate and create the depth effect. I choose the background layer and in effects I will look for the Gaussian blur. I double click and then in the effects control I will place a blur of 8 points. Now I return to the where we are editing this entire layer, and as we can see it has already been done. Imported together with the filters so that it looks like this type of animation that we can change the text. And we change them one by one. In this case, as we can see, we can change each one of the text. But since I'm doing this for explanatory purpose, I will not filter them once. Once we go editing, we can close the pre-composition that we talked about. As we see all the text, we can customize them. Once you finish customizing all the text animations, we will go to the control layer, and from here we can change the colors, controls, and the general settings of all the animation. For example, I will change the background color, and we can continue changes from text to all colors, etc. Now, I'll show you the result. Another very interesting package is digital screen. If among all these 70 packages you cannot find the one of you are looking for, from here we can write it. For example, I will write digital and all the packages that include this word will appear. I will double click and from here we can see that we have different screen animation, either for social network or types of digital screen. For example, choose this one here. I will double click and create the composition. I will double click to create the composition once the composition is created. Just as we did with the previous one, I select and press enter to rename this, and I will name it as digital screen, and I insert it into my composition folder. Now I will double click to start the edit choosing the control layer. Within the control panel we see that we can change the background color. For example, this white I will change it to green. Then we can change the colors of some elements as well, as the color of the icons among others. Now to start changing the text and images, those that appear with context, all the subcomposition that appears with text holder will allow us to change the text, and those that appears with placeholder will be one of the image. So I would start customize each one of them. Ready now that I have customized several texts and images, we will see the result. Another very useful package for social network is Instagram package. This one for retro type stories and this other one with more options. For example, in retro stories, how we see the animation and the colors I like the 90s. Instead, we go to Instagram stories. We'll find a greater variety of animation. These already have the vertical format so that we can upload them to our social network, such as YouTube story, Instagram stories, for TikTok, etc. We can also easily use some of them as advertisement of products that we want to advertise. For example, I will choose this one here. I will double click to create the composition. Now before starting, as always select the composition and I will name as story. Now to start edit, I will double click on the control layer. We can change all the colors that appears. Then we have 5 texts which we can change, the logo, the image, and a text. For example, I will start with the image. So I will double click and I will replace it. I'm going to import an image. Then I press S to escalate it and place it. The placeholder layer I selected and deleted. So I would continue customizing each of these texts by selecting its composition of layer and then editing it. Now I will show you the result. As we see, this animation has transparency, so we can use it to overlay another animation of video that we have. And if we want, we can continue using other packages to complement this animation. For example, in this part where it is already saying goodbye, so I will make in this part a banner appears to invite them to see the channel. So I place the header in the part that I want the animation. Then I will go to AEJuice and look for the Blogger package. Inside it, I will look for one of these small banners. For example, this one here. Then, where we have located the header, the new animation will be imported. I will double-click. It will have been imported as a separate composition. Now, I will start editing it. Now that I have customized it, we see that it's very big. So I select it, then I press S key to this composition, and I'll escalate it to change the size a little bit. Later, with the selection tool, I will place it in this part, and now we can see the result. As we see, the animation when we imported was imported with the same properties of the composition. As it was vertical, it was also imported as vertical composition, but in this case we wish that this separate composition should be horizontal, so that all the animation fits. So I select it, later we enter this and we will go to composition settings, or with the shortcut Ctrl key. Here we see that the layout is vertical, and we change it to horizontal. Now, as we can see, all the animation already fits, so we return to the main composition, and we advance a bit so that it begins to appear. If we want that any of our layers stick to the head while we move it, we press the Shift key. And this would be the result. Now, if you have a podcast, this package will interest you a lot. I will look for it as a podcast and will find the visual podcast. I will open it, and as we can see, we have several editable templates, which will have animation of the sound waves according to the audio that we put. For example, I will choose this one here. Once this effect is imported, to edit it, we double-click on the composition. If we choose the control layer, if we then go to the controls panel, we can change the colors. For example, the progress bar. We can also change the color of the audio spectrum, the text, the background, etc. Now to replace the images, I will click on the image holder composition and also to change the logo in placeholder. Then I will customize it for you see the result. Once we have finished customizing, now we can import our audio. For it, we go to the audio composition. I will double click, and from here I will import an audio with Ctrl I, and I drag the audio and delete AEJuice layer. Now we go to the composition and press the space to see the result.
La historia de la animación comienza como tal a finales del siglo XIX. En aquellos tiempos todavía...
Here, as we see, the audio animation of sound waves already exists. Then we can customize the logo and the entire interface. If we want to adapt this composition to the duration of our audio, we have to go to Composition, then Composition Settings, or we can press Ctrl key. From here, we can modify the duration. Here, we can write the duration of seconds and minutes of the duration of audio to that is how the entire animation lasts. Another package that we can use is the NFT Creator. With this, if we have NFT, we can create different animations to put it on any NFT sale page in loop animation style. For example, choose this one here. Then I will import the sequence, which is an animation in loop. To start editing it, I will double click and then in Image Placeholder is where we will place the image. So, the right will drag the sequence that I have imported. Then I deleted the placeholder layer, and this by pressing S, I will scale it to fit. As we see, it is already inside of this animation, now I will edit the text that appears. Finally, I will click on the control layer and inside the controls panel customize the colors. As we can see, all this animation has transparency, so we can use it on top of any image. For example, I would import a background to use it as the background of this animation. Then I select it and I'll insert a Gaussian blur effect. Now I'll put play to see the result. Now I will show you some packages that we can use for the animation of our logos. For example, we find the animated logo times. In this we find various animation of logos, which we can use as intros of our channels or as of the presentation of a video. Later, we also have some of options with the Cyberpunk package. In this one we find 4, but as we can see, they have animation very different from those of Animate. Then we also find some of cartoon. For example, in the Cartoon Comics package, we find several animation which we can change the logo and text. For below, we will also find the text animation, and above we'll find some animated backgrounds, as well as some cartoon type animation. We'll make an example. So that you can see the possibilities of this, for example, this one here. I will double click to create the composition. To start the detail, just like we have done with the other package, I will double click on the composition and we start to change the parameters to customize it with my animation. And clicking on the controls layer, we see that we can also change the background, the color of the logo box, the text, and everything else I will also change. Ready with a few clicks, we have already created an animation for this logo. Now, other packages that we can use very frequently are the text animations. In AEJuice we find some packages. When I write text, here we find the auto text, then text presets, and we can also use cartoon text. In text presets, if we choose it, we find several text animation. Then in text animation we'll find animation text with color effects. And inside the Cartoon Comics package, we'll find funny text animations. So to take an example, I will create a new composition. Then I'll choose any of these text. For example, this one here. And once the effect is inserted, to start customizing it, we will double click. About its completion to edit the text, I will go to the kinetic preposition. Then in the text layer, we can change it for all text. Once the text has been changed, we choose the controls layer. In its control panel, we can change the colors as well as the location of each one of them. For example, if your text is not fitting exactly in the position that you want, you can search for the original text in English. And then in the text and point part from here, we can move it. I'll customize it a bit. Up to this part is the animation, so I press the End key so that the preview is up to this point. Now, to use the text animation of the second text animation option, we must use a text layer. I will hide this precomposition and then I will create a text layer with a text tool. Like any text layer, if we select it, with the character panel we can change the font, the color, the size, etc. Then, to center it, I go to Align panel and in relation to the composition I will enter them. Now, to create an animation in a very quick way, we are going to AEJuice and choose any of these. If we place the cursor in the middle, it will be created the animation both at the entrance and at the exit. But if we move it to the left side, the animation will only be imported from the entrance. As the intro of the text animation, instead we move it in the opposite side. To the right side, this animation will only be for the exit. So, in this case, as I want both to be, keeping the text layer selected, I will choose and double-click in the middle. So we see that two markers are created. One is in and other of out. If we move the marker, it will indicate that the animation will last up at this point. Instead of the exit animation, we start from where the marker is. Now, if you want a little more advanced text, we can go to AEJuice and look for the neon text. Here we'll find neon titles. When selecting it, as we can see, we find a few text animations in neon style and in 3D, and they will have a very professional finish. It's worth saying that these effects will use a little more of our computer resources. Now, for example, I will choose the first one. I will double click, and from where we had the header, it will have been imported to this animation. I will hide the other layers, and now to start editing it, I double click on the composition, and then using this precomposition, we can go editing all this animation. For example, we have the background precomposition. This will allow us to change the background, and then with the effect that animation has, it will darken and use these filters. For example, if instead of these bricks, I'm going to import another background. This one has a wooden texture, so I replace it. I place it on the top. I press that and then delete the previous one. So if we go to the new scene, we see that the bricks have been replaced by the new background that I place now. I will edit the text and modify each one of these precompositions. And now to change the colors, we select the control layers, and in the Effect Controls panel we can customize the colors. So we already have this 3D type animation. We also have two pixel packages, where we'll find videos and images without copyright. I want to thank all the members of the channel for being part of the community. If you want to learn exclusive courses with me and find a lot of additional content, you can become a member of the channel by clicking join. Please support my job sharing this video with your friends by giving it a like and above all by subscribing to the channel if it's not yet. If you have any question, please leave it in the comments. See you in the next video!